did it. After all the sound check problems we were having, for those of you listening, it took us a very long time to get here. But we're here.
And we had to pour a lot of beers, too.
And we poured a lot of beers. We drank some beers. But you are with Nick Papantanakis.
And Nicole Kostelecki.
And we are the Remax Alliance Old Town agents, bringing you Brewskis and House Keys, your insight into local beer and local real estate.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And today's topic that we're going to talk about is, Nick, where do I start when looking for a home?
I'm glad you asked that. And I think we should talk about that. But first, I think we should talk about the beer in front of us. What are you drinking over there?
So, I have a couple.
You do?
We have a smorgasbord.
A smorgasbord.
For everyone. So, the first one, this is a Ghost Drifter. So, it's an American Pale Ale. Very hop forward.
Probably my favorite beer that, by the way, Odyssey Beer Works.
Yes.
Local Arvada brewery. So really good beer from a really close source. Probably my favorite beer from them, that Ghost Drifter. It's so good. It's very hop forward.
It is.
Very much so.
So I like it. Nice and crisp.
Yeah, I better just make sure I know what it tastes like one more time here. I just haven't been a while. Oh, that's good.
Yep.
It's a beautiful thing. Next to it, we have, what is the name of this one again?
It's I-70 Colorado.
And that one's a lager.
Yeah.
Now, this is my first time having it. You said you've had it before, though.
Yeah, I like it. It's nice and crisp, easy drinking again.
Kind of
just a lager.
Pilsner-y finish.
Yeah.
A little bit to it, but really good.
Well, because you can ride your bike over to Odyssey, right?
Yeah, we're real
Trail
close there. Yep.
So this is a perfect beer to have after a bike ride.
And yeah, it is. It's along the Ralston Creek Trail, so you can absolutely ride your bike there. It's a beautiful thing. Next to that, we have the Heliocentric, which is their Hefeweizen. Just, I mean, everything you'd want from a Hefeweizen. It's got a little bit of body. Sorry, I had to remember what it tasted like. But you know, that bright, almost like a little bit of citrusiness to it.
Yeah.
As a hef should have.
Let's see.
Not an unfiltered hef like you've seen too. They're not, you know, some of those are really, they can get real heavy tasting, I think. Yeah. And then last but not least, which I've apparently done some damage on, is the Psycho Penguin, one of my favorites, the Vanilla Porter. You want to taste it one more time there just before I do any other damage to it?
Do you like it because of the name or because
I think I like it because of the name. It's a really good fall and winter beer, I think, just because it's got a little bit more body to it. It's got a little bit of vanilla-ness to it. And then those darker beers, you know, they're a little bit heavy. Not heavier, it's not the right word, but they have a little bit more.
Well, they are. They fill you up a little bit more.
Yeah.
Keep you nice and warm in the winter.
That's true.
But
that liquid coat.
Yeah.
It's true. But they're good anytime.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, if you can't see it, I've had over half of it already. So we're well on our way. So, I mean, Odyssey Beer Works, they've got a lot of different beers. We picked some of our favorites from there, but, you know, they've got a lot of different options down there. Love that place. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, where would one start when looking for a home? That's a very good topic for today. I like that one.
Right. So, I mean, in this market, it's very important to educate yourself before you kind of hit the market, hit the ground running. So, I think the best place to start first is with an agent, obviously. Kind of meet up with them, have an initial consultation, ask them a bunch of questions, and just become knowledgeable.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's really easy to think, I want to buy a home, and so I'm going to start looking at homes.
Right.
And it's really easy to get in that mode when in reality, there's a lot of kind of front-end work that has to happen before you get out and shop for homes. Shopping for homes is like the sexy part. That's the fun part.
Yes.
But like that work up front is critical no matter what the market is.
Right. And it's really important right now when houses are going on the market on Thursdays and are under contract by Sunday or Monday. And so with that being said, just being prepared, like you don't have the luxury to kind of learn as you go in this market. You got to kind of learn up front and then go from there.
And I mean, we literally, before we started recording this, Nicole had a really good conversation with a client to where she said, I can tell now that this person trusts me.
Right.
The value of that on both sides, for the client and for the agent, is so huge.
Yeah.
I mean, to have it be a big transaction, one of the biggest investments you're going to make, and not trust the person you're working with. I mean, that's a little bit terrifying. And so it's really important to have that connectivity with your, like you said, a really good agent that can educate you.
Yeah.
And one of the worst things one could do is just go to Google and type in what's the market doing right now, or whatever you want to call it. But I think trusting an agent is huge.
Yeah. And I mean, don't get me wrong, Google's a good resource for certain things, but when it comes to real estate, it's different in every state, every location. So that's why it's important to sit down with someone.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you mentioned, houses go on the market on a Thursday, and then by Sunday they're under contract. I mean, that's the market we're in right now. Mm-hmm. But that's not always the case. And so I think it's also, I would say, in the beginning stages of the home buying process, it's important to talk with that agent about what is the pace of business right now.
Right.
And that's if you're interviewing agents, which you should do, by the way, if you are looking to buy or sell, don't just
jump with the first person you talk to on Zillow.
Or click on the first thing you see online.
Yeah.
Actually seek out reviews, seek out some sort of references, and ask the right questions. But I mean, one of the really good things to ask is, okay, what is the pace of business right now? How is the home buying process working? Because it's okay to say you don't know. As a home buyer, or home, you're going to sell your home. It's okay if you don't know. And I think that's got to be a big part of it for people.
Yeah. So I mean, I always start with a client. We sit down, we have an initial conversation, talk about the market, kind of what it's doing, talk about different price points so people can look at what they can get, for their money, and then, kind of go over expectations as far as, I guess, making offers and what they can offer. So
I mean, I think it's so important on the agent side, we've got to be prepared for those things, right? We want to make sure that we're being the right resource for our client. Right. And so walking into those consults, that's exactly how I think every agent should approach this. Just how you said it, is that we need to be able to have all that information at our fingertips. We're ready to go. We've done our homework and our research. We know what we're talking about. That immediately instills that trust. That makes it so much easier. Then you do all this work. Mm-hmm. Then you get to the sexy part.
Yes.
You get to go shopping. You get to go house hunting. That's fun.
Right. But first, you should talk to a lender. Right?
You're exactly right.
Yeah.
Sorry, I got excited for the sexy part. She's absolutely right. Okay, so let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Like, you go about the consult. You talk about all the aspects of buying a home. What does it sound like when you start to talk about the finance side?
So it's super important to know what you're pre-qualified for, or if you're financing versus cash offer, that kind of thing, and just know how high you can go and what your interest rates are going to be, as well as your down payment and your monthly payments. Make sure you're comfortable with that. So you know that up ahead of time, because every offer you make these days, like, you'll have to include a pre-approval letter as well. And
some of the listings want pre-approval letter from a lender, and then proof of funds. They want to know that your finances are in order. So absolutely, as a buyer, you've got to know your finance situation, because that seller's going to want to know too.
Yeah,
absolutely. And so you talk about pre-approval and the interest rate and all that. Is that something that you rely on your clients to try and figure out? It's a loaded question.
You go to the lender, right?
And probably not just any lender. You probably have
a trusted lender.
Someone,
exactly.
Yeah, that's the biggest. I mean, gosh, having those relationships. It's a relationship business.
Of course.
We want to make sure that we have those relationships to be able to refer our clients if they are looking for it. That's for sure.
Right. Someone you can work closely with, and they're available on the weekends too, just like us.
Because that's when business is happening.
Yep.
It's hard to say, because there are, the banks out there, they have the loan officer capability too, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
But a lot of times, if you're doing business on the weekends, it's hard to be able to pick up your phone on a Saturday and not get a hold of your lender saying, hey, we're thinking about this house at this price. How are we feeling for this client? And if you just get a voicemail, it makes it real tough.
True.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
All right. So we talked about the financing side. What about, you and I were talking about this the other day. We were talking about what's called a cash buyer program. Mm-hmm. So now we know of one within the Remax Alliance umbrella, yes. But why don't you speak about that? Because I learned from talking to you that day. It was awesome.
So we have a new program where you can become anyone. Well, you have to meet a couple qualifications, but can become a cash buyer. And so we have a program that we work with. Basically, they'll offer cash for the home, and then you kind of buy it through that program and then get the loan through them. So you use our preferred lenders, which,
so it's almost like
buying cash.
It's almost like you are shopping with cash, as if you had $600,000 to go buy a home cash.
Exactly.
But it's not your money in that moment. It's someone who's putting it up for you.
Right. And then you do the loan through them.
And then you would be able to go back. So it's basically like a step, like an additional step, but without, adding stress. It's actually taking stress away from the process, because it's not always that a cash offer is accepted, but it's to a seller, it's often pretty attractive.
It's more attractive for sure.
Which main reasons why, for those of you that don't know, is it doesn't require that lender approval, right? It doesn't require the appraisal. It doesn't require the additional time.
It takes away contingencies in offer.
Absolutely.
So
you're talking way less time to close, and that's probably one of the biggest things that people salivate at right now. Price, yes, but quick close, yes, please. That's a big deal to people. So I think 100%. That program's awesome, and there's a lot of lenders that are doing that program, something like that.
Yeah, there's different programs out there for sure.
But a shameless plug for Home Mortgage Alliance is okay, yes. I think. That's probably fine. Cause
not even shameless.
Michelle Beeson is a huge superhero. So shout out to Michelle from Home Mortgage Alliance.
Yeah.
And there Logan. You are, Michelle. Okay, so can we get back to the sexy part?
Yes.
Yes. Okay.
But what do you do before the sexy part? Make a wish list?
See,
it's still sexy.
I'm almost behaving like a first-time home buyer because I'm just excited to go see houses. And
you are.
Like a good agent, you're reeling me back in. This is good. I need this.
Gosh.
So a wish list. Let's talk about that. What are the things that we suggest typically? What do you suggest typically when you're talking through that part of the process with a new buyer?
So I think it's important to know, if you have a husband and wife, or say just you're buying it like on your own, if there's other parties involved, I think it's important for everyone to make their own wish list. That way they can kind of go down it. You can see what matches and what doesn't. Make sure you guys are all on the same page.
So like, I want the basement for a man cave, but my wife wants the really nice yard for her garden.
Yes. And are those must-haves, or are they would like, or, that would be awesome, but it's not a deal breaker. There's kind of different tiers, right?
Yeah. And I say man cave, I really just mean a small room to play video games in. But, or
brew beer.
The idea, right? Or brew beer, which totally different episode, but we'll get there, I promise. But I think it's important too in that wish list to talk about, as you said, must-haves, need to haves, and would like to have, and understand how those line up. If you have one or two or three or more people in the process,
right,
there's got to be overlap of those must-haves. There can't be the one non-negotiable on one person's list and the other person's like, I don't want that. They've got to align. They've got to be on the same page on those things. So that part of the process can be a little bumpy sometimes.
Yeah, and I think that does come though with, as you see places, sometimes you can walk in and be like, okay, this actually does work for both of us. So that helps.
Yeah, it's like a baseline, but then as you start seeing homes, you really hone that in.
Right.
More. I think that's a really good way to put it.
Exactly. Because not everything on that list is going to be checked. We talked about this yesterday. You could build your perfect house and you would still find something wrong with it.
100%. That squeaky floorboard in the third bedroom. whatever it is in your brand new house.
Yeah.
That's if I built it. That's the difference.
Or wrong paint color or whatever. But it just might be something. So I'd say if you could hit 80% of that wish list, go for it.
And then you really start to see that, oh, okay, I could change that paint color.
Yeah.
I could pull up that carpet.
I can open this wall.
You get a little more open-minded about what you're seeing in homes, and it's a really good step in the process, I think, like you said, to go start seeing places.
Yeah.
It'd be great if every time you walked into one house as a client with your agent, you liked that house, you put in one offer on that house, and you got that house.
I have someone that did that.
It happens. It does.
My sister did.
It happens. See?
It was awesome. They literally walked into the first house and got it.
And
that doesn't happen that often, but it does happen.
When it doesn't happen, it's okay to see a few and understand that you're paring that list down and hopefully feeling good about the work you're doing to get to that end goal.
Right.
So, man, your sister had it made. She must have had a really good agent. I guess. Okay. Now we're talking the sexy part, right?
Yes.
You're out looking.
Yes, looking.
And we didn't really talk about this before, but I think once you get in the mode of we've got the lender thing figured out, we know what we're pre-approved for, we know what we can spend, we know what our down payment is, we started to figure out our wish list.
Right.
Then we get to the point where we like a house and we want to write an offer.
What do we offer? Exactly.
How do you navigate that conversation?
Well, this is also one of those things that I think is important to start talking about before you go look at houses. I do. Just with the way this market is.
100%.
Because it can be sticker shock what you end up offering on a house or what you hear other people are offering on a house that you love, right? So you have to be aware of the fact that you are most likely going to go over ask price if it's the first weekend. So then there's different things that you can do, like we talked about last week, to make that offer more competitive. So
yeah, and
it's just important to know what you're going to have to do.
Absolutely. And that's managing those expectations
Right.
up front, right? That's also what a good agent will do for you, is help you manage those expectations right out of the gate and make it very clear to you that we may see this thing happen. You may have to offer over the list price. How much over would you be comfortable? And that's really going to evolve as well when you start to see the actual homes. And it's that mode of, are you in love with it enough to go this much over?
Yeah.
Or should we walk away from it and say this is our top? If it doesn't get it, we look for another house.
If you lose it for this much, would you be upset?
Yeah.
You
What's
know?
your upper threshold, and stick to it.
Yeah.
That's sound advice.
Very
See, the
much
sexy
so.
part even has some bones behind it, some math behind it. God. What else? I feel like that's a good way to
Yeah.
start, at least, as you're looking
That
for
is.
the new home buying process. So obviously, if there's questions, we both have phone numbers and email addresses that we like to share, so we can do that. But hopefully this gave some sort of insight into the world of where do I start when looking to buy a home.
Exactly.
And shout out to Odyssey.
Yeah, we can do a buyer consultation there too if you guys want to.
I think that's called synergy.
Yes.
The brewery and the agent at the same time. Odyssey Beer Works, Arvada, Colorado. I'm going to give a shout out to their address just so you guys have it, because why the heck not? If I can find it on the can. I can't.
It's off I-70 in Sheridan.
There you go.
Go find them.
They're great folks, great beer, fun place, good atmosphere. And we will do this again. So stay tuned.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.
Cheers.